This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Serious doctors for serious injuries. And powered by the law offices of Pond, Lehocky, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
On a gorgeous Saturday night in the Delaware Valley. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. A special show tonight in the studio along with J-Doc. I'm Krause. J-Doc, a first for us here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and SNL Injured Worker Special.
Yeah, Joe, one of the causes that we feel really strongly about is injured workers. It's a very serious situation. This is our first 1 hour full special. It's the Saturday Night Live and PhillyLabor Injured Worker Special, an hour with Sam Pond. And so we're ecstatic, obviously, to present this to the general public.
We have moved up in the rent district for sure.
We have.
As Sam Pond, who's in the big chair tonight, has delivered.
Oh, yeah.
He has delivered tonight from the saloon, J-Doc.
Oh, my God. Listen, and anybody who knows me knows that I absolutely love Italian food. Now, we've had some awesome food on the show.
J-Doc, we've had some great food on the show.
Listen, Sam, not only are we a labor show and we deal with politics and all, but we're really a food show, right? So, not only do we have the highest profile workers' compensation attorney in the land here, but we also have a connoisseur of food who brought unbelievable display of Italian food here from the Saloon, which is one of my favorite restaurants. And let me tell you something, Sam, you can come back here anytime you want, man.
Well, I had nothing to do with it, Joe. You know, it's all Richie and the Saloon crew down there, and what a magnificent meal. I happened to eat there before I showed up today, and they just do it right. And by the way, when I have dinner with all the union leaders and our friends in labor, that's where we congregate. That's where we break bread, and it's a special place.
I was going to say that. If you've ever been lucky enough to go to the Pond Lehocky Labor Christmas party, it's typically at the Saloon. Unbelievable. So I couldn't have been more excited. I haven't eaten since Wednesday, Sam.
Well, it sure looked that
way. Woo! It was a contest, wasn't it? A contest?
Well, it was great. It was great stuff. Dan Loney, who has the Dan Loney Show, following our show on Saturday nights, has given it a great, unbelievable thumbs up. When I went into the
Dan's coming into the studio.
Dan's coming in.
All right, Dan.
He's a critic. Come on in, Dan.
Dan's coming in the studio.
Can I just say that in all of the time that you guys have been doing this show and getting me fatter by the week, that this has taken the top slot.
It has, hasn't it, man?
This is I just
Danny, you tried what?
The raviolis. They melted in my mouth.
Yeah.
They were so good.
I mean, I'm telling you, man. And you know, my wife, I know she's listening right now, and I got to restart my diet every Monday, and I break it on Saturday night. I mean, we've had some great sandwiches, but we had major league food tonight. Like we didn't have hoagies or anything like that. We had some good, but man, I mean, we had spaghetti, we had chicken parm, we had the raviolis. Yeah. Are you kidding me? So evidently, we're doing 1 hour specials with Sam Pond every Saturday night.
We'll see. Listen, and you know, that's a good segue because I happen to have my meal in the boxing room there, and that really is going to lead us into our conversation this evening about boxing and fighting, because I'm going to tell you right now, the working men and women of the Commonwealth are in for a fight, and everybody better stand up and get that fighting mentality to beat back the forces of evil that are coming down against injured workers.
And that's the thing. I mean, Sam is not only an outstanding attorney, but man, he's an advocate on behalf of working people and injured workers, and we're going to find out a lot about that during the show.
It's a Saturday Night Live special here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, an injured worker special, an hour with Sam Pond, a high-profile attorney, perhaps the highest, J-Doc, I would venture to say, in the city of Philadelphia. Does a lot of good work, and it's not so much about some of the messages that you see out there about Pond Lehocky. It's about the individual, Sam, and the one motivating factor for me in terms of our relationship from the first time that we connected was the passion that you have for the injured worker who I've got to believe, depending on the scenario, Sam, many times shows up at your doorstep in complete disarray.
Well, look, I think all your audience and all your listeners have to do is think about just waking up, not planning. No one plans to get injured or killed on the job. You just go off and do your work. When you get injured, think about this, Joe and Joe. You get injured at work. You have an injury. You have to get medical care. You don't know what that medical care is going to be. You don't know if it's going to be delivered. You don't even know if you're going to get a check again. You don't know how your kids are going to be fed. You don't know how you're going to pay your mortgage. You don't even know if you're going to have a job anymore. So there's so much at stake. There's so much uncertainty. And then when an insurance company just drags you across the coals, denies. They deny 80% of the claims in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. 80%. Why? Because most people aren't even going to pursue a claim. They're just going to think that that claim was denied for a reason, and the insurance company was right. You know what? We hear the word insurance fraud. Well, you know what? Insurance companies, that applies to insurance companies. Not the injured worker that's simply trying to go and make a living, but to insurance companies. We see insurance companies defrauding injured workers day in and day out. And you know what? There's nothing to deter them. The laws have got to change. And you know, we're lucky enough, Joe, as you know, and we'll talk about it further, we're lucky enough to simply have the laws that we have. They want to take away the keys to the courthouse for injured individuals in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, starting with House Bill 18. We really have to step back and say, what kind of society do we have? Is our society simply about profit and money? Is that what it's all about, Joe? Where's our moral compass?
Agreed.
Where's our spirit?
Agreed.
Where's our spirituality? Where are we in regard to taking the health care, medical delivery, just health, basic health care away from injured folks, from our citizens, to make another buck? That's where we're at.
You know, it's amazing. And I've learned a lot because Sam's been doing shows with us for several years now. I've learned a lot just listening to Sam, and I agree, Sam. Somebody's been working for the same company 20, 25 years. They go to work one day, they get injured. They just are doing what they think is the right thing to do. They'll tell the boss, and then they couldn't for a minute think that they're going to get screwed.
Sam, what does 80% of the claims are denied? Put that in a way for me to understand that.
Well, I'm an iron worker. I go to work, and as Joe mentioned, I've been doing it for 25 years. I'm 45 years of age. I've got 2 kids. I have an injury. I hurt my back. I'm not even going to talk about some of the catastrophic injuries where lines are broken, chains take hands off and arms off, and people are crushed. But I hurt my back picking up something. And there's not even a reasonable investigation. They just hear I hurt my back, and then they deny the claim. 4 out of 5 cases in the Commonwealth, Joe, fall into that category. So what do? I don't have access to medical care. I don't have a check coming in. Do you think I might be a little anxious and depressed? Do you think I may have a problem getting better, and all I want to do is get better and get back to work? I can't even see a doctor. So about 4 out of 5 are denied, where folks can't even get medical care. So this is a real problem, and the insurance companies have nothing to lose by denying cases. They hope people will just go away. Maybe they'll go back to work and work injured. Maybe they'll retire. Maybe they'll just go into the sunset. They have no downside by denying these cases.
And let's think about that guy. Maybe he never missed a day of work in his life. There's an innocent, hardworking guy. You know, you talk about dignity of a human being, going to work and providing for his family. Let me tell you something. That's why I'm involved in the injured workers cause. And I see people every day who get injured on a job. All they want to do is get better, and they don't know if they have, like Sam said, health coverage. And so we're going to cover a lot of things today, but after the break, we're going to talk to Sam about the state of workers' comp in Pennsylvania.
Stay with me, though, for a couple of minutes here before we get into our first break. Sam, help me connect the dots. An insurance company denies 4 out of 5 claims. How? Why? Because they can?
Because they can. And then they have to see me, and then we have to go into the courtroom and try a case that could take a year to get their benefits. And we've tried to have some of the administration that administers the workers' compensation system to make sure that the law is applied by the judges. We'd like to see more of that. They're not. So we really have to have a fair shake. We have to have the courtroom open. We have to have the ability to have weapons to fight back against insurance companies that have a lot of resources. Our firm has a lot of resources. Thankfully, we have motivated trial lawyers, real trial lawyers that are passionate, making a difference, bringing every piece of our arsenal against the insurance companies. But that's the reality of the situation. So don't be misled and think that I don't want to talk their talk. I'm not talking about an injured worker committing fraud. I've actually have injured workers saying, I'm not one of those frauds. Well, guess what? In 30 years, Joe, I've never had a fraud action brought against my client. Not one. In 30 years. We have the largest workers' compensation practice in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have filed hundreds against insurance companies. And if the system isn't going to hold them accountable, we're going to have to get the Attorney General involved because this is criminal action. So we really have to understand the seriousness of what's going on because when you defraud an injured worker, you ruin their life. You take everything away from them. You take their dignity away from them. You take their home away from them. You take the families away from them.
And Sam, it's almost like, and I've heard you say this, and I'm on board. It's almost like you're going to work, and you're walking a tightrope, and you don't have a net. You think you do. It sounds like you almost don't have insurance. In other words, it's like almost doing it. If 80% of the individuals, Joe, get their workers' compensation benefits denied or disputed before they recover from their injuries. I'm asking you guys, do you have insurance or don't you?
Well, everyone has to start telling their stories, Joe, because we've had enough PR from the other side about how working men and women are scam artists. They're not. They're working men and women trying to make a living and live the American dream, and it's being taken away from them. We have to have our stories told about insurance companies committing fraud and have their feet held to the fire by judges and by legislators. Enough. Enough. We can no longer talk their talk. We have to fight back.
It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor, an SNL special on this Saturday, May 20th, Injured Worker Special, an hour with Sam Pond. As we broadcast you live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, we'll take our first commercial break as we roll in to the big show. When we come back, Jerry Lehocky will join us. We'll get to him and we'll continue our conversation. Back in a moment on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Local lives here. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
I won't participate on behalf of ourselves here at Local 98 or the Philadelphia Building Trades in conversations that are purely dominated on social issues that don't affect our jobs.
They cannot take the information given to them again by an insurance company, let's say, and think that that's gospel. It's not. They have rights, and they, in a lot of situations, really control the situation.
It's an hour special here on Saturday Night Live, Injured Worker Special, an hour with Sam Pond as we roll on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
A little shout out to CWA 13,000 President Jim Gartler. He's also the Secretary-Treasurer of the Philadelphia Council of AFL-CIO. Yesterday at 3 p.m., 21,000 CWA members who are AT&T workers, including 1,000 right here in the PA, called a 3-day strike. They're looking for wage increases, job security, affordable health care, and fair scheduling. We just want to let them know that we're supporting them, and we're going to be shouting them out throughout the show.
No doubt about that. We're live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT with Saturday Night Live and PhillyLabor coming up around 7:46 tonight. We're going to meet Mary Beth Altieri. Sam, tell me a little bit about Mary Beth.
Well, Mary Beth was a client of ours. She was a registered nurse, still is a registered nurse, was injured on the job, and we had the honor and privilege of representing her in regard to her battle with the insurance company. And she's now helping our firm and our clients go through the medical experience after they've been injured on the job.
All right, so Mary Beth will be with us. Real life stuff, a real story from Mary Beth J. Doc. She'll be along at 7:46, 7:47.
And by the way, I'm sorry, Joe, if I can, she's from a union family. on her side, Teamsters, and on her husband's side, DC-21.
Awesome. So if you've seen the commercials, if you've seen the billboards, Pond Lehocky, we're lucky to have Sam Pond in the studio with us on this special, and we're ecstatic to have Jerry Lehocky on the line. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
It's great to have you, Jerry. We're doing great here. You missed some great food, buddy. I'll tell you, not going to eat it for at least another hour.
All right.
Sam did a great job. Listen, Jerry, we're talking about a lot of things going on about the injured worker and the legislative situation, everything that goes on. And we're talking to Sam. I want to bring you into the discussion and talk about what effort you and Sam make legislatively. How much of your job is based on fighting for the rights of injured workers legislatively?
Well, as a lawyer who practices workers' compensation, we are all dangling from a political string, and that string is being controlled by what happens in Harrisburg. And it's sometimes, depending upon the makeup of the legislature in Harrisburg, that string is strong, and sometimes it's thin. And over the last few cycles in Pennsylvania, our string keeps getting thinner because more and more representatives, more and more senators in Pennsylvania are anti-worker, anti-injured worker, and anti-civil justice. So because of that, Sam and I, and I will tell you, Sam spends a lot more time in Harrisburg than I do fighting this thing because I'm charged with doing more litigating, and Sam's charged with taking care of everything else in the firm as the managing partner. But it's a full-time job. You know, we can't rest for 1 second because the insurance industry isn't resting. And they've got teams upon teams of people fighting against injured workers, against the people who represent injured workers, against the doctors who treat injured workers, against everybody who helps an injured worker. We have to fight. And we are trying as best we can to build coalitions to fight back. And it will be a never-ending battle. As long as there are injured workers, we're going to have to fight not only in a courtroom, but in the halls of Capitol Hill in Harrisburg.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Jerry has been fighting this, shoulder to shoulder with me and the trial bar and the medical community and organized labor for decades, literally decades. Jerry's a past president of the Pennsylvania Trial Lawyers Association and headed the comp section for years. But look, right now, as Jerry mentioned, Jerry and I were in Harrisburg a month ago. I was there Thursday. Right now, the bill that we're really facing is this House Bill 18. That is the most diabolical play. But Jerry, you're so right in what you said in regard to how they can harness their resources and how just nonstop the attacks are with all the money that they have to take away benefits for injured workers and against organized labor, to defund them, shut the courthouse door. It's fascinating how much time and energy they put to do this. Now,
Sam, we talked about the deception. Okay, let's talk about House Bill 18. Last year, and Jerry was Jerry and Sam were both a huge part of this House Bill 18. We kept it from coming out of committee 14-13, barely by the skin of our teeth.
Right.
Jerry, Sam and I were talking with Joe, talking about deception of, it's an opioid bill. In other words, the name of the bill is an opioid bill, so that it would get normal people to say, hey, who would ever go against it?
This House Bill 18 is bait and switch. It's a pure marketing ploy on behalf of Sam Marshall, who's touting this, who's marketing this, who's jumping on this opioid epidemic that, we're reading articles about it all the time in the paper, nationally, locally, wherever. House Bill 1800, the substance of it has nothing to do with opioids and injured workers. It's designed to take away, once again, more rights that the injured workers gave up and got back in 1915 when the Workers' Compensation Act was passed. And this is all about profits. This isn't about medical care or to make it easier for an injured worker. It's trying to make it worse for them, all in the name of profits. Profits that insurance companies every year for the past 8 years in Pennsylvania keep making more and more of in Pennsylvania. Sam will tell you, the carriers are fighting to get into Pennsylvania to write workers' compensation insurance business because they're making money off of it. off the backs and off the necks and off the knees and off the hips and off the arms of injured workers.
Yeah, Jerry, another great point in that there are 325 private insurance companies that are clamoring for this profitable work of workers' comp in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They're knocking each other over to write workers' compensation insurance. And you're right, as the governor's office just indicated, almost $1 billion in savings over the last 7 years on workers' comp, and they want more. And this bill is headlined as an opioid bill. It has nothing to do with opioids because opioids is not an epidemic. It's not an issue in workers' comp. It just guts all the medical treatment, medications, surgery, physical therapy, doctor visits, everything, chiropractic care. All of it's gone because it'll all be decided, Joe's and Jerry, by a panel of insurance company officials.
Jerry, listen, we know you're busy. We know you're
right.
You know you're doing a lot down there. We thank you for calling in.
You got it, guys.
We appreciate that, Jerry.
See you next week.
Jerry Lehocky, the other half of actually one fourth of Pond Lehocky Stern Giordano.
Now, if Jerry comes into the studio with Sam next time, do we get 2 different orders from the saloon?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We got to get.
I think Jerry was there. I went in there this evening, and they told me Jerry was there last Saturday night. So.
All right, good stuff. Jerry Lehocky checking in here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. It's a Saturday Night Live special, an injured worker special that J-Doc has organized tonight. An hour with Sam Pond, the highest profile attorney, workers' compensation attorney in the city of Philadelphia. By the way, 1 week from tonight, next Saturday, the president of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, J-Doc, Rick Bloomingdale, will be along, and we'll have a great show a week from tonight as well.
Absolutely. President Bloomingdale going to talk to us about the state of work and labor in Pennsylvania. Looking forward to it.
We'll continue our conversation in studio with Sam Pond, who's in the big chair. Looks great. Must be that Boyd's ad, Sam. Looks fantastic on a Saturday night as we roll on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. More conversation and chatter, and later on, Mary Beth Altieri will join us. Back in a moment.
Radio.com. Radio.com.
I believe there's room, okay, for the national building trades, the local building trades, to have partnerships with the Trump administration as it pertains to energy, as it pertains to infrastructure, as it pertains to the undocumented worker.
We can compete with any insurance company more so than they can ever compete with us. We have the money, we have the resources, and we will take them to task, and we will beat them in representing our clients.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. It's an SNL special, a Saturday Night Live special, an injured worker special tonight, an hour with Sam Pond as we broadcast you live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Don't forget, coming up at 8 o'clock, it's the Dan Loney Show. He'll be along. He's got a belly full of ravioli, so he'll be fired up tonight. So Dan Loney coming up at 8 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, we're continuing our discussion with Sam Pond. We're talking about House Bill 18, the potentially devastating legislation coming up. Sam, if House Bill 18 goes into effect, who does it hurt? Who's picking up the bills at that point?
Well, it's a good question, Joe, because injured workers are going to need medical care, and quite frankly, I would suspect even on cases that are accepted, it's going to be 30 days and they're going to be out of medical care. So they're going to have to go somewhere, and if they're a union employee, they're going to go to their health and welfare. Their health and welfare is going to carry the burden of their medical expenses and their medical care, and quite frankly, it's going to defund their health and welfare funds. It's going to drain them, and it's not putting the responsibility where it belongs on the insurance company that collected the premiums from employers to provide that insurance.
Now, Sam, we talked about this many times, but and we need 2 hours, okay? But we don't have it. Let's talk about the grand bargain that you've talked about so many times, that we gave up the right to sue our employers so that we had workers' compensation back in 1950.
You know what I love about this platform that we have now in the Philadelphia community, your show? It's really a platform to have people have a civics course, to understand what their rights are. They need to understand exactly what is collective bargaining. They understand what is a constitutional right. They gave up a constitutional right in 1915 to sue someone that hurt them based on negligence, and that's their employer. They cannot sue. You cannot, folks, You cannot sue your employer. You gave up a constitutional right to do that in 1915, and the bargain was you were going to get a weekly check that'll never go up. There's no cost of living, and delivery of medical services. And we continue to see that bargain being eroded.
And got it right, exactly. So in essence, you don't get the opportunity, your constitutional opportunity, to sue an employer if you get injured. You have workers' compensation. You just can't really get it. You don't have the opportunity.
And to go back to the opening statement, Sam, the insurance company is going to deny you 4 out of 5 times.
4 out of 5 times, and there's the bargain, Joe. The bargain's not being met. Give us back the constitutional right to sue you, and have the uncertainty of a lawsuit. You know what? They'll be running. They'll be running to the hills, but they'll continue to erode these benefits. We have to have a voice. We have to get organized, because most folks aren't insurance companies. They're just simple folks trying to go to work and make a living every day. The wonderful thing that I'm so proud about is to walk around our great city, and it's so vibrant. And I take the time to look at the buildings going up, to see bridges being put together, skilled workers, hardworking, through an apprentice program. It's being built by the building trades, by organized labor, by folks that are going out and asking for one simple thing: a simple, decent wage and a medical package, and maybe a pension. That's all. That's all they're asking for, and it's not even being delivered at that level. And we have to start fighting back. I said earlier about the boxing room at the saloon. Really, we got to wake up. We can't be sitting on the sidelines. We can't be apathetic. We have to know what our rights are. We have to know what our democracy stands for. We really have to get an understanding of what we're giving up. We cannot be lambs to the slaughter any longer.
And Sam, and you touch on a lot of important facts. Call to action real quick on House Bill 18. What can listeners do out there? Listen, if you don't care about yourself, care about your children, care about your brother, your sister, your friends. When they're going to work, they think they have insurance. Yep. They think that if they get injured on the job, that they're covered. And 80% of them are getting denied or disputed their benefits.
Yep.
So if you don't care enough about yourself, call.
Well, the number one sponsor of House Bill 1800 last year was Representative McKenzie up in Berks and Lehigh County, and he's now the sponsor of House Bill 18, and he's in the pocket of the insurance industry. And, if you live in that district and Representative McKenzie is your representative, you have got to call Representative McKenzie ASAP. You've got to send an email. You've got to write a letter.
And if you don't live in that district, Sam, call your...
And if you don't live in that district, you've got to reach out to your state representative and your state senator. And if you're not registered to vote, you've got to become registered to vote. Your voice has to be heard. You can make a difference. This is still a democracy, despite what everything is going on. You've got to get engaged, but you've got to reach out and find out where your representative is on issues that will take away what you and your family have worked for all your life.
You're talking about, like we just said, you don't expect to get injured. We went to the PhillyLabor, the Workers' Memorial. You spoke there, Sam, and it's so emotional, man. It's one of the most emotional things in this day and age. How we're talking about people going to work at the rate they're going to work and getting killed and maimed, and to have the gall for some adjuster to tell you that you're not hurt, or some a panel doctor to sit there and tell you.
Well, I think that everyone ought to have the Workers' Memorial on their calendar and go to that event down at the Sheet Metal Workers Union Hall on Columbus Boulevard and experience and see what those families have gone through, that have lost a loved one who simply got out of bed that morning, went to work, never came home. We have those kids sitting at those tables that lost their moms and dads.
Parents and sons.
And parents and sons, and they can't even get anything. There's no cost of living. There's a $3,000 funeral expense. There's nothing for a widow as she gets old. It's a debacle. And the governor was there. We have to get him reelected. He's progressive, but even the governor after that came up to me and said, "How bad is it?" I said, "Governor, look, we see it every day in the courtrooms. We experience in our office what people are going through. People are in tears. They're broken. They're broken spirits because of the system denying, and they want to take more away with House Bill 18.
It's a special conversation tonight, an injured worker special, an hour with Sam Pond here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. As we go to a break, I want all of the listeners to use the unbelievable power of radio and the theater of the mind to think about and process some of the conversation from Sam Pond this evening. You don't know until you know. And once you know and you process and you understand what is being said here tonight on this special, perhaps it will move you slightly to the right or to the left to make change. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll visit with an injured worker who will join us. You'll meet her along with Sam Pond. We're back in a moment.
I'm recognized as an entertainer. Weekdays noon till 3 on Talk Radio 1210.
I've been coming out of step with them guys, okay? And I was a treasure of the Democratic Party. You know, I've been a loyal Democrat my whole life. But I've told people, and it hasn't, like I told you, it just didn't resonate with this election. If you look at the last few years, I've been telling people we have to become a little bit more individual. We have to be more of our own brand. We have to do a better job at becoming a business.
I got hurt at work, and I don't know what to do. Can't play with my kids. Can't work. Bills are piling up. My wife's always worried. Insurance companies keep giving me the runaround. This is too much to handle myself.
You've called the right place. Lehocky can help get your life back together.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. It's an SNL special, a Saturday Night Live special tonight, an injured worker special, an hour with Sam Pond, who rolled into the studio tonight with an unbelievable dinner from the saloon. And J-Duck, I want to get quickly back to Sam, but I cannot actually believe that you had another helping of food from the saloon during the commercial break.
I don't want to say to our listeners that you're lying, Joe, and it's not happening. And then please disregard the tomato sauce that's on my face and on my hands, because there's no darn napkins here. But, you know, thanks to Sam, what can I say? You know, we have the opportunity to have Mary Beth Altieri on the line, and I had the pleasure of watching her speak at Transit Workers Union 234 about her injured workers experience. And so, Mary Beth, welcome to the show. And if you wouldn't mind sharing your experience with us here on the air.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Good evening, everyone. I wish I was there to taste that great food.
May not be much left, Mary Beth.
Yeah, with Joe Doc around, Mary Beth, I don't know how much is going to be left.
Not much left.
Sorry about that, Mary Beth. Next time.
That's okay. That's okay, guys. Yes. So basically, I met Lehocky, Stern, Giordano, the firm, back in 2013. I am an injured worker. I was a registered nurse. I still am. But back in 2013, I had over 30 years of clinical experience. And as most people know, registered nurses, it's a very physical job. Pushing, pulling patients, turning patients, pushing
Absolutely.
beds, pulling beds, stretchers, lifting, and of course doing your CPR, advanced cardiac life support. It does take your toll. Now, I was very healthy, kept myself in great shape for years, never thinking I would ever be injured because I did take good care of my body. However, no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them, right? Just as Sam had mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And it did happen to me back in 2013, taking care of a patient in a resuscitative way. And it was devastating. I couldn't believe that I was injured. But, of course, as every nurse out there knows, every joint aches sometimes after a 12-hour shift. You know, it's just part of the business. And you go on, go home, take care of yourself, go back to work the next day. So my injury did not get any better for quite some time. In fact, I lost close to 2 years of work, and it was devastating, I have to say. And Sam will even tell you, sometimes when I talk about it at some meetings, I get very emotional because it affected my family, myself. I'm always a strong person, strong-willed, and always an advocate for my patients, taking good care of them and being an advocate and keeping them safe. Now, when I was injured, my employer, I was persona non grata. It was almost like, what's going on? Of course, it was disputed. I was so anxious. my husband from the beginning said, you have to contact Sam Pond. You must, because he's also a union worker with District Council 21, Painters Union. So finally I listened to my husband, because I'll tell you the first reason. A lot of people probably can relate to this. I didn't want to go to an attorney originally. First of all, I didn't know all of my rights, first of all, okay? And that's why I like going out to speak with Sam, to the union members. We need to really educate everybody, because I didn't know back in 2013 my rights. So you're afraid to anger your employer, right? You don't want to lose your job. So I was scared. So I finally went to Pond Lehocky and met with my attorney, Alexis Heinrich. And the day I went there, I was a wreck, just an absolute emotional wreck, okay? From the physical pain that I was experiencing, the emotional pain I felt, because you feel worthless. You can't even drive when you have an extreme back and neck injury. And eventually, because I was out of work for so long, there was a financial burden on myself and my family, and that made me a wreck, you know? And I like sharing my story because I want other people to understand. Seek help early on. Don't wait. And I think even the nurse friends that I work with, they don't know their rights, and I've been trying to educate them about, you know, hey, you can go to your own personal doctor. A lot of them don't think they can, and they keep treating with the workman's comp doctor. And then they tell them go back to work. And I just recently worked with a woman. She just came back from work having spine surgery. Well, she worked a 12-hour shift. By the end of that 12-hour shift, even though she's been out of work for a couple of months, this lady was limping. I mean, it's awful.
Mary Beth Altieri is joining us. Mary Beth, let me bring Sam in. Sam, because some of what Mary Beth described is what we've been talking about for this whole hour.
Yeah, and I think, Mary Beth, you're so on point, and it's really a good segue maybe for another hour. And that is really, as you know, having experienced it now dealing with our clients, is that fear comes into the equation. Fear, and statistically, and this is brought out in all the reports, that 1/3 of folks that have a work-related amputation on the job are so afraid of the consequence of reporting it as work-related, they don't. That's nationally. That's an unbelievable fact. So people are afraid of reporting it. People don't want to see lawyers. People come to us only after they've had the case denied, they've been treated unfairly. 9 out of 10 don't come to us right away. They only do that after a period of time when they've been mistreated by the insurance
company. And they don't
company.
have anywhere else to go.
Right. But Mary Beth, you also make a good point in getting the message out about you can see your own doctor. At least now we can try to do that, because we have a whole group of doctors that will work with us. House Bill 18 may gut that. But that's the other point about going there. And the final thing is the anxiety and the depression that comes about from this.
Mary Beth, and Sam makes a good point. We got at least another hour here. I want to thank you for calling in and sharing your story. Certainly, there's about 20 more questions I'd love to ask you, and we'll save that for the next.
Actually, there was just one more point. I was just going to finish with one more point.
Sure.
When I met my attorney, and for the duration I had my attorney, Alexis, she made me feel like a person. She never treated me like a case number. And I think a lot of people think when you go to law firms, you're just a number. No, not upon Lehocky. You truly aren't. They're just there to hold your hand, basically, and they're there to fight for your rights. And you feel so secure at that point. I immediately knew I was going to be okay eventually, because I know I had my attorney at my side at the mediations and throughout all the paperwork. I mean, it was wonderful. So I just want to say again, and I hopefully Alexis is listening. I'll never forget that first day meeting her. So thanks for having me, guys.
Well done, Mary Beth Altieri checking in. Sam, unbelievable to listen to a little bit of that. But the thing that resonates for me, and I know we only have a few more minutes, but the one thing that resonates for me is just that fear is so strong that it literally will manipulate and control you into not acting in your own best interest.
Yeah, sometimes it's a real Herculean effort by the injured worker to come and take the next step. They're paralyzed with fear. But that's the intention of the insurance industry. That really is to put those blockades, those hurdles, those challenges ahead, and they financially smoke you out. by denying cases. You don't have any finances. So you have to get an attorney. You have to come up with resources. You have to go and possibly look somewhere else. We spend the money. We'll provide all the litigation costs and all the support to get you in the right place, to get you in the right frame of mind, to give you, as Mary Beth just said, I didn't even know about Mary Beth the first time I met her, that she had this great story to tell, but to pick you back up, grab you up under your arm, stand up straight. You have rights. We are going to empower you. We are going to fight. We're going to bring everything we can to make a difference, to get you back, put you back together in light of your total life, your family's life being torn apart. We're going to put it back together. We're going to get you a strategy, and we're going to get you through this.
A Saturday Night Live special, an injured worker special, an hour with Sam Pond. Sam, well done. Great job in the big chair tonight. Well done.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good stuff, J-Doc. I give you 35 seconds to recap the night. Not to eat. 35 seconds to recap
We're down
the
to
hour.
30, so you better let me go.
You can start off with...
Listen, Sam's made such a great impression, and certainly I've experienced PhillyLabor is really passionate about our injured workers' cause, and I've said to Sam many times, we've dealt with many people. I don't even know how they get to the attorney. They get so intimidated, they're so scared, and they go their whole life, in some cases maimed. And so I want to thank Sam. You've done an amazing job. You're such a great friend to organize labor, and you made a difference in the lives of so many people. So keep doing what you're doing. And by the way, Sam Pond's going to be on monthly doing our injured workers segment. So we're going to have a lot more education coming. I want to thank Sam and Jerry for being on the show.
All right, good stuff tonight. A Saturday Night Live special, an injured worker special, an hour with Sam Pond, the highest profile workman's compensation attorney in the city of Philadelphia, and he brings some pretty good food from the saloon. Woo! So well done by Sam Pond tonight. Special thanks also to Jerry Lehocky for calling in, and for Mary Beth for sharing her story at the very end of the broadcast. That's going to bring our Saturday Night Live special to a close. We thank all of our listeners for tuning in and being a part of the big show. Don't forget Rick Bloomingdale 1 week from the night, next Saturday night as we roll into Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you back here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. For Sam Pond, for J-Doc, for Glenn behind the glass, well done on your part, brother. Thank you very much. I'm Joe Krause. We'll see you next time.
I seen that open space. I hope you're saving that for medical marijuana, because I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that, and I just want to let you know, we're talking big numbers. We're talking, as you know, they're talking trillions, but we're talking mucho billions around here of unionized pension money. I haven't heard in 6 weeks one conversation about Russia yet. That's the reality. They come to me about jobs. They come to me a little bit about Obamacare, but they don't come to me about Russia. And with Philadelphia jumping out of the seams as a hospitality town, we need our transportation to be clean, efficient, safe, and on time.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.